Welcome back to another build order video. From this point forward, in my build order videos, I'll be adding some additional information at the end, specifically what are the pros and cons for it. The goal of this opening is to have a fast uptime for scouts without compromising economy and without pushing any deer, so you get to have early scout intel of your opponent too. So we start by putting the first 6 villagers on sheep. Then villagers 7 and 8 go to berries. Getting a meal this early will give that extra bit of food required to click up at 18 pop. Villager 9 lures the first boar right when the third sheep is being finished. After that, villagers 10 and 11 build a lumber camp. Villager 12 builds a house and goes to collect berries. This is about the time your second boar should be lured in. The next 3 villagers will go to boar under the TC. And finally, villagers 16 and 17 go to wood, then loom and clicking feudal age. On the way up, make a second lumber camp with 5 villagers. Also at 40% up, build a house and barracks with 1 villager. After reaching feudal age, get double barracks and build a stable. Optionally put a 4th wheel on berries. Before food under the TC runs out, you gotta seed some farms. If it's safe, you can also meal the deer since it's only 50 wood. You can even get horse color after 2 or 3 farms, but only if you don't need those 150 resources for army right away. Alright, that's the end of the build. Now moving on to pros and cons section. Let's start with the pros. Pro number 1 is that it's not the expected play from Japanese, since men-at-arms are the most popular opening with them. Pro number 2 is that if your opponent also goes for scouts and spears, transitioning into knights and pikemen in Castle Age, you will be better off because Japanese pikemen are much better. And if you can close the distance, Japanese pike and knight will do quite well versus skirm and knight. Pro number 3 is that it provides an easy transition from scouts to cav archers, if you decide to go for that route, since Japanese cavalry archers are fully upgraded in Imperial Age. Pro number 4 is that you have a more mobile army for open maps, like Atacama, where walling is really difficult early on. Top of that, having scouts gives you a much better ability to track the opponent's army. And finally, my last pro is that it gives a better eco than other fast scout builds, since you have 2 lumber camps and longer lasting sheep due to the early berries. You also don't have to push deer like I mentioned. Now moving on to the cons. So if you do decide to go scouts into knights in Castle Age, Japanese knight line scales badly into Imperial Age since they lack the final armor upgrade. That means you have to do something meaningful with your map control, or you will have to eventually switch out of knights. Con number 2 is that you are not using the power spike of Japanese men-at-arms. Japanese men-at-arms are popular for a reason, since it gives you map control at the very early stage of feudal age, because your men-at-arm beats any other civ's men-at-arm one-on-one. And finally, con number 3 is that scouts hit later than men-at-arms. So basically you have to consider the advantages of both builds before committing to one of them. Thankfully, Japanese early economy allows for this kind of flexibility. Alright, that's all I have to say for this one. Let me know what you think of this build, and I have a couple more coming in the next weeks. Thank you very much for watching.